everybody, my name is Rebeca Wise. I am the owner of the Cultured Kitchen. So our company does all vegan, raw, gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, fermented foods. And all these foods are really good for you for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons is it lifts the burden off of your digestive system. As we get older, our pancreatic function slows down, our kidney function slows down, our liver slows down, and so it's really good to start eating a lot more foods that give you benefits like B vitamins, like selenium, like CoQ10, enzymes, amino acids, and probiotics. So lifting the burden off of your pancreas, helping you to digest and absorb those foods very easily. Those are the types of foods that we produce over at the Cultured Kitchen. Please stop by to take some samples. So these are foods that are really easy to integrate into your diet, and you can see some really good benefits. I have customers who come back and they say, wow, I feel so good after eating this food. It tastes really good and it's delicious. So please come and try some samples. So I teach classes. I teach classes at Whole Foods Market. I teach in Roseville, Arden, and I will be teaching at the Folsom store once it opens up. I teach the quick and easy raw food classes. If you're new to raw foods, they're very simple recipes, but we also go into some in-depth science to why you want to include raw foods and to learning more about the body and all of its functions. So a lot of people are tired by midday and they feel like, oh, why am I tired? I don't feel as good as I used to. I'm achy. I don't have the energy like I'm used to. I'm not thinking clearly enough. So, and there's a lot of different reasons why we age. Part of the reason is that we burden our system a little bit too much. So we eat the foods, a lot of the foods that take our energy from us, that are very hard to digest. So, and there's really easy ways to lift the burdens off of your system, focusing on a lot of the proteins that are easy for you to absorb, more the free-form amino acids. And I'm not totally crazy, vegan, hardcore. I'm the last person that will tell you, you have to eliminate all of this out of your diet in order to feel healthy. But there's some things that you can do, some things that you can integrate in. So I teach a longevity program, and this program really kind of outlines the 3 steps towards healing your system, because you could practically heal anything. When the doctor says, like, you're stage 4, you're done. You know, pack up your bags, write your will, you're done. Well, that isn't always the case. You know, if you can lift the burden off of your system, if you could trigger those regenerative growth factors, if you could break down all that internal scar tissue and stagnation, then there's ways that you can regenerate and heal yourself. So there's even ways that you could stimulate telomerase activity that will rebuild the ends of your DNA. So as we age, every cell in our body can replicate like a maximum of 50 times. And every time your cells replicate, you break off little tiny pieces of information on the ends of your DNA. And that basically outlines your lifespan right there, is how many times can your cells replicate before you've lost so much information that you can't even, there's not even enough DNA left behind for you to replicate more cells. So if you stimulate telomerase activity, then you can increase the amount of times that your cells can replicate. So I went to one of the last Longevity Now conferences in Costa Mesa, and that was one of the main topics, was telomerase research and how to rebuild the ends of your DNA. So, and there's ways that you can do that. You could go to Hollywood and you can take like a really expensive supplement called TA65 that a lot of the people, like rich, wealthy people, are doing. But there's also foods that you could eat. Foods like Gynostemma, which is the only caffeine-free green tea in the world. And Gynostemma, it's delicious, it's sweet, it has more ginsenosides than ginseng, and it will stimulate the telomerase activity in your body. So we actually use that herb in our Santé, which is a fermented beverage. It's our yellow Santé. That's one of the bases that we use in the Santé. So when we introduce the Santé cultures into there, so it creates those B vitamins and those selenium and CoQ10 and digestive acids and nutrients. So it's really delicious. It has herba buena and honey and lime juice. It tastes kind of like one of the best margaritas you've ever had. So, but it's not super sugary. It's not like a soda pop. So don't expect like a soda pop. It's really good. But I'll sample some to you guys if you want to come over. So stimulating telomerase activity, and that's something like as you eat more healthy foods, you eat more fresh foods, that telomerase, you'll start to stimulate that on your own as you start to rebuild your endocrine system and nourish all of your glands. And this is kind of an issue, is that 1 in 3 people are diabetic in today's world. In America, 1 in 3 people. So that's a huge sign that there are major pancreatic issues going on in our society. And our pancreas is a precursor to everything. As we get older, our kidney function slows down, our liver function slows down, and that happens because of our pancreas. Our absorption backs up. So our pancreas doesn't just produce insulin that helps us utilize our sugars, it also digests proteins and digests fats. So when you're not digesting those fats, you're not utilizing to rebuild your brain tissue, you're not utilizing to produce hormones. So, and if you're not digesting those proteins, those large protein molecules can actually cause damage to the kidneys, can actually break down some of our kidney tissue. When we damage our kidneys, we cause scarring to happen. So, and most people walk around with like 70% kidney function and have no idea, like don't even know it. Like my grandmother is 96, she walks around with 35% kidney function. The doctor's like, oh, your kidneys are doing good, you know, she's doing fine. But actually there's some things that happen when our kidney function slows down. And one of those things is that it has to do with our vitamin D. Now here it is, a beautiful sunny day, right? I hope everybody's like rolling up their sleeves and trying to get some good vitamin D into their body, because winter's coming and we're not going to be outside. We're going to have a lot of clothes on. We're not going to be getting that vitamin D. Most of us bathe in chlorinated water, and the chlorinated water actually strips our natural oils off of our bodies. So after I get out of the bath, I usually just take like a nice natural, doesn't have to be super expensive, you could even do an olive oil, put like a nice oil on your skin, because the D is a hormone and it sticks to the oils on your skin and it's slowly absorbed over time into your bloodstream. So you definitely want to go out into the sun today, put a nice little oil on your skin and get some D into your system. And D is essential for immune function, essential for your mood. So if you're somebody who's a little bit moody, or sometimes like winter comes along, you're kind of depressed, you know, kind of down. So D is essential for your mood. It's essential for hormone production, essential for bone growth, and it's also essential for keeping your body flexible, preventing the coral from building in our organs and our soft tissues. So our bodies are just like an ocean, and just like in the ocean we build coral reefs into our joints, we start to calcify as we age. So when you look at an elderly person and you see them, they're kind of like really stiff and their face is like drooping and they look like gravity is taking them, like gravity is pulling on them. Well, calcium is a gravitational mineral, and it's actually a toxic heavy metal. So as this toxic heavy metal starts to flocculate in our organs and starts to build up in our soft tissues, gravity pulls it. So, and if you've ever touched a piece of coral, it's very sharp and jagged, and it will actually, like, it hurts, you know? You go step on the coral, you're like, ow, that hurts, you know? But those sharp, jagged coral that grow in our bodies cause a lot of inflammation. So the 2 fastest selling products, I work at Whole Foods, the 2 fastest selling products in our supplement department are laxatives, which is another form of stagnation that happens in the body, and inflammation relief. So we have inflammation all over our whole systems. If you're somebody, you have like this old injury, so this old like injury that hurts you all the time, well, where there's stagnation, that's where the coral grows. And in the coral roots things like viruses, parasites, yeast that root down into the coral that cause a lot of inflammation, a lot of production of bad hormones. So like the yeast creates mycoestrogens, and mycoestrogens are inflammatory, and mycoestrogens are steroid estrogens. They will feed anything with receptor sites for estrogens, like cancers and tumors. So if you have a lot of yeast, a lot of coral growing on in the body, then you can be producing these steroid estrogens that are the bad kind, not the good kind, the bad kind. So if inflammation's a problem for you, if feeling kind of stiff and achy, if you're not as flexible, you don't have that energy, or you ever feel like gravity's just really pulling on you, well, there could be a sign that your vitamin D is really low. And vitamin D gets converted into the final stage of D, which is D3 in the kidneys. So as the kidney function slows down, as we do things like abuse our bodies, right? You go out and you like binge drink, you go to all you can eat buffet, and you like break down some of that tissue in your system. You have to actually process that stuff. You know, 60 years ago, like my grandma's 96, so when she was a kid, it was like, you know, you have your vegetables and you have your potatoes and you have your bread, and then you have like a piece of meat like this big, because chickens were only this big. You know, at that time, chickens were not like these massive steroid chickens that are so heavy that they can't even lift their own bodies, right? So these little tiny little piece of meat, and that was enough that your body could handle it. But we live in a buffet world, so, and we're just like massive. This is the craziest thing. I went to Golden Corral. I'd never been there before, and it was my boyfriend's mother's birthday, and they were like, let's go to Golden Corral, you know, and I mean, on my boyfriend's side, like I met him at Whole Foods, so he really kind of got this consciousness developed about like eating healthier, and he's really into local farms. He was a produce buyer, so really into local farms and eating local and supporting like organics and non-GMO. Perfect match for me, right? So I would fall for a guy in the produce department. So his family, and he tells me, he's like, I just watched my family fall apart, you know, and it's just like his mom's got all these issues and her skin's flaking off, and it's just bad. So we go to Golden Corral, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I can get some salad and that'll be fine. And she told me that people stayed there all day. That they bring their families and they stay there all day and they just eat, and then they sit and they wait, and then they eat more and eat more. Well, your body has to actually process all that, and when you don't break down all those foods because your enzymes can't keep up, that you're not digesting those things. So you're not, and this is recent research that I've been reading in medical documents, that our pancreas has receptor sites to hormones. So say for instance you're eating all these hormones, all of our foods have hormones in them, or they alter our hormones and how our hormones behave. They stimulate aromatase activity or they inhibit aromatase activity. And aromatase is the enzyme that takes your testosterone and converts it into powerful, dangerous steroid estrogens. So an estrogen dominance is a really, really big problem in our society. So, and you could tell by Americans and this study on like their waistlines, and we store excess estrogens in our belly fat. So not the good kind. We want progesterone. We want our progesterone to be 200 times more than our estrogen. That's the healthy thing. And progesterone is not just necessary. People think, oh, progesterone's for women, right? Progesterone's necessary for like our bone or just the hormones and our reproductive. So as we get older, we hit menopause, we don't really need it anymore because we're not going to procreate. Well, progesterone is necessary for bone growth, necessary for eye health, necessary for the growth of all the synapses in the brain. Progesterone is important for men too. But as we get estrogen dominant, because there's xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens that are found in plants, xenoestrogens that are found in plastic, partially the reason why all of our products, biodegradable plant-based plastics. We don't want any xenoestrogens in our foods at all. All of the foods that we produce are non-inflammatory, non-estrogenic. So you won't see any of that in our foods. But the xenoestrogens found in plastic, right? And not just that, the steroid estrogens that we are eating and the microestrogens that are produced by the yeast that live in our bodies and live in some of the foods that we eat. So if you're somebody who has an issue with like inflammation, or maybe you have something growing in your system that has estrogen receptor sites, you're going to want to avoid some of the foods where the yeast grows in them, like stone fruits. You might not want to bench out on like peaches and nectarines and stuff, but you can eat more tropical fruits. And I don't want to say that too loud because we're at a farmer's market. So hormones are a big problem, and it's really good. You can kind of take something like passion flower, like calcium D-glucarate, turmeric, any of those things to kind of like drop your bad estrogens down, pull those out of our fat cells, and then you can bring your progesterones up. And that's really the effective way to balance your hormones, and even men. So men, you'd want to kind of like pull those estrogens out, take a passion flower extract like a chrysin, and then you can bring your testosterones back up. And if you drop those bad estrogens, everything comes back up. It's like a teeter-totter, and it's like a game of musical chairs. So that's how hormones really work. So lifting the burden off of the organs, right? Giving our bodies more of a chance to digest and break down our foods, not going overboard on the complicated proteins or the proteins that really need the pancreas, like meat, dairy, and nuts and seeds and grains. So those are also included. You can eat more legumes like black beans and lentils. So the Amazonian jungle peanuts, by far, we use that in some of our products, one of the highest quality proteins on the planet. Won't put any burden on your system. So, and one of the other proteins that I advocate is egg whites, because egg whites are the only protein on the planet that has a proper amino acid profile and puts absolutely no burden on the kidneys, the liver, or the pancreas. They're free-form amino acids. They're not those complicated bound-up amino acids like you would find in like an almond or in like a meat or a dairy, or a grain. So free-form amino acids. So you could be in a crisis situation and you can absorb the protein from egg whites. And they're so rich in an amino acid called methionine that methionine cleanses, breaks down scar tissue, and rebuilds the liver. And our liver, I talked about our kidneys a little bit, but our liver is one of the most critical proteins or organs in our body. Our liver produces more antioxidants than you could ever consume. A lot of people are like, oh, I eat blueberries, and I get my antioxidants from blueberries, or I take like this multi-level beverage company antioxidant drink, right? Well, your liver produces superoxide dismutase and glutathione, and those are major antioxidants. Glutathione is not just an antioxidant that fights free radicals, but it's also is what gives your body and your skin color and glow. So as we get older, we start to become a little more grayish, and that's because the liver's not producing enough glutathione. So glutathione is really nice for keeping us levitational, keeping us glowing and vibrant. So, and that's like I talked about calcium. The calcium is a gravitational mineral. Well, silica is a levitational mineral. So if you ever want to feel like I'm lightweight and I'm like strong and I can run around all day, 16-hour days, that's what I do. 16-hour days. I'm at the end of 16 hours, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go to sleep, right? So silica is a levitational compound, and that's something you can focus on. It's found in cucumbers, especially cucumber skin. It's found in like oat straw and horsetail, bamboo. Anything that's very levitational, like grows very strongly and branches to the sky. That, if you're somebody that you have like no energy by midday, you want to focus on those foods. Something like the bamboo extracts or like the velvet deer antler. But that's a whole nother talk. Stimulating the regenerative growth factors, going in for those levitational compounds. Something like Foti, which is Hoshu, which is where they're taking resveratrol extracts from. A lot of people like Dr. Oz talked about resveratrol, and everybody's like, oh, resveratrol. I've heard about that. What is that all about? Well, they're extracting that from an herb in Chinese medicine that's called the Japanese knotweed, the giant Japanese knotweed, and it's amazing for liver health. Amazing for your skin. You can mega dose on resveratrol and you will see the difference within a day or two on your face and your skin. So, and I've seen it bring back color to the hair. So if you have like grayish hair, so it's really an interesting compound, and it's one of the most powerful foods on the planet. And the Chinese have known this forever. So, but thank you very much. I just got doing a quick talk today. If you guys have questions, you can find me over my booth. I do teach classes at Whole Foods Market, so you can go to Whole Foods website, check it out, quick and easy raw food classes. It's a lot of fun. It's $10. You get to try the recipes and eat the food, and we go into a lot of the different deep sciences, and we go into specific foods like eat this because it does this for you, eat this because